All right, we have 32 teams, 32 draft needs. The question for the Cowboys, which position could the Cowboys target early to replenish the talent lost on the roster? Connor Williams, Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson, and Randy Gregory. They've added James Washington and Dante Fowler Jr. So the net here is very much in the lost department when it comes to talent, Brian. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of positions that you could address. For me, I look at this roster, and there's nothing I don't want to do in the first round other than running back, quarterback, punter, and kicker. Anything else I'm good with. How about you?
You know what? I think you have to keep a really open mind because they've proven that they will take whatever their stack tells them to take. And I feel like, though, the best avenue for them that maybe they get the best bang for their buck initially would be to take that wide receiver and then work from there. That would be my thought. I mean, I kind of feel like that the guards, and I've said this before, I think there'll be some questions about the guards. Maybe they have less questions about the guards than I do. I kind of feel like the edge rushers would be another one that if, but again, that was with Karlaftis. I really, really like him from Purdue. I kind of feel like you could get like that. In the first round, you just want to try and limit the risk. And I feel like, though, with the receiver or with that defensive end, you're kind of limiting the risk. And then, as again, I say, go work from there. But, they're going to look at this guard. I keep saying, my guy would be Green from Texas A&M at guard. I think they're going to take Johnson.
I'll be open-minded about that. Hopefully that guy starts playing well and all that. But I think if you need it up too much, you got to look back on the CeeDee Lamb thing and get some perspective on what happened the next pick there with K'Lavon Chaisson. The guy has 2 career sacks.
Yeah.
And you're the whole time going in, it's like, oh, we need another edge rusher and all this. And if you hadn't have had that sort of epiphany as a front office that, wait a minute, we can't predict where the roster is going. We need to take the good player, even if we're redundant at the position. It was a blessing. And I think the blessing continued last year. You got to stay in that mode because those guards, both of them have bust alert, if you ask me, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a lot of people I trust and know that really are big fans of Johnson. And again, my tags are touching there. But let me think about this, guys. If I told you the receivers going into week 1's game were CeeDee Lamb, Washington, and Noah Brown, you feeling good about that?
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb, Washington, Noah Brown. Those are 3 starting receivers.
I'm okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now that might be their attitude as well.
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, then don't even think about that wide receiver.
I wouldn't. I mean, I want better. I can't wait till Gallup is back.
Yeah.
But you have bigger needs.
But yeah.
You're not going to win with more receivers. You could put 8 all-pro receivers on this team.
Yeah.
And if the rest of the roster is built like it is, you're going out in the wild card round. That's, to me, what last year proved, without a shadow of a doubt. You have to have more balance. And that applies to most teams. I think we learned maybe it applies to Dak Prescott more than some people were comfortable with last year.
So but then let me read you right here. And you make an excellent point about the wide receivers. But you're okay with taking a chance on that guard then, right? Whoever that guard is. Because you're telling me, I'm not, hey, Brian, listen, the receivers are fine. The offensive line's the problem, but we have questions about the guards.
Yeah, to me, those are kind of 2 different questions because I have questions about the guards. I want to trade up.
Yeah.
But what I think you can't do is make a mistake thinking we got to get a receiver. Right. You don't have to get a receiver. Yeah. You're fine. Yeah. That group can win games.
Okay. No, I'm not saying okay like I'm being a smart ass. I'm saying okay, I see your point. But like you say, I wonder if you're making, an excellent point about the wide receivers. But, man, we keep circling back to the guards of like, okay, man, I hope Johnson's really good. I hope Green's really good.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that think both of them are good.
That's kind of what sucks about being at 24, in a 20-player first-round class.
Maybe that's why Jerry Jones is talking about going up.
Yeah.
Maybe he's talking, maybe they have somebody in mind that we're not even thinking about going up for.
I mean, the guards are too risky to take if there's a clearly better prospect on the board. You know, a wide receiver isn't a big enough need to say we have to get a wide receiver, especially with the depth in rounds 2 and 3. The question around the Eagles here, ESPN.com's 32 teams, 32 draft questions. With 2 first-round picks, will the Eagles entertain the idea of selecting a receiver in the first round for the 3rd consecutive year?
I think so. I think so. I think there's actually some talk about moving on from Jalen Reagor, who they drafted, and maybe try and get him a clean look and get the club somebody else in. So yeah, I could definitely see the Eagles in the middle of the board. I mean, the first wide receivers we've kind of talked about potentially going to the Jets at 10, but the Eagles clearly can use defensive line help. They need to try and fix that receiver. I mean, they never take a linebacker early. It might take a safety. That's another one they can kind of look at. But I feel like though that the Eagles, if they draft another wide receiver, it's probably going to be the second one off the board. Okay, speaking of receiver, let's go to the Green Bay Packers with 2 selections on day 1. Yeah. Will the GM abandon the organization's philosophy of not drafting wide receivers in the first round in order to replace Devontae Adams? I think there's a possibility. I was talking to guys in Green Bay about this, and they were thinking, do you use the receiver at 22 or 28? And there's also talk that they have 2 second-round picks, that they might just hammer those 2 receivers back-to-back in the second round and then use picks 22 and 28 on another position. They are talking about defensive linemen, both tackles. They're talking about defensive ends. They've been talking about, secondary help in some ways as well. So the picks 22, 28, I don't think are guaranteed to be offensive players and receivers because, again, they've mentioned the possibility of using the 2 second-round picks for wide receivers. In Arizona, where Kyler and Cliff are trying to make them a real contender, finish a season, it seems like offensive line is a guaranteed first-round pick, but is there another direction the Cardinals could go? I saw they got A.J. Green back. Yeah. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be back, but they lost Christian Kirk. They lost Chase Edmonds. Where would you take it if you're in Arizona? That's the spot that Arizona has talked about, maybe even with the offensive line. That might be a spot where, Zion Johnson, I know I've seen some mock drafts where he's gone ahead of the Cowboys there, with that pick that the Cardinals have, and that might be a little devastating to the Cowboys if that happens. So I think that they need to try and find ways to better protect Kyler Murray. And I think that going with offensive line, whether that's a tackle, guard, center, I think those are all possibilities there.